It's the next level.
Free yourself. Reclaim your power. Simply say the words.
Hey panelers, welcome to the show. I'm Steve.
And I'm Lara.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast of the third episode of The Witcher Season 2. Title is What is Lost? And we have a kind of small synopsis here with just impatient with Geralt's methods. Ciri braves major obstacles to prove her mettle. Scheming and suspicion among the Brotherhood make Yennefer a target.
Succinct.
Succinct and to the point. Yeah, that covered it all and really, really good. How'd you feel about this episode? What'd you think?
I thought it was overall an okay episode. Nice surprise in there and a good ending with the monster battle. And the surprise was Yennefer showing up alive at Aretuza. So I liked that. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10 Witcher course cracks to the skull.
That's good. That's good. I actually liked it a lot more the second time. Like the first time, I just kind of watched it. I was just kind of like, okay. But then today, as I was watching it again, I really, really got into it and had a lot more notes than I thought I was going to have. And so it's going to be kind of fun to see where the discussion takes us. But I did watch Nightmare of the Wolf, and it was really good. I'm usually not into animated stuff, but it was good, and it did help kind of understand some of what's going on here, especially with we're kind of starting into a storyline that might tie back to Nightmare of the Wolf, right, with these mutated monsters. We'll get more into that as we get into our discussion points. But the only question I had is there at the end of Nightmare of the Wolf, why was Geralt bald? What?
Now I thought about that.
Choice?
And maybe he had lice and they had to shave his head. And another, I just think it's because since he's the only Witcher with white hair, if we saw some white-haired little child, then we would immediately know it's Geralt. Although, in the series, the little boy who gets left with Vesemir is not white, does not have white hair, so I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was just it kind of threw me off a little bit, and I also noticed that in the cartoon, Vesemir had the yellow eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
also,
most of the Witchers do, and in the series, it's only Geralt who has the yellow eyes.
Yeah, that's what in the live action series, because Vesemir is more blue, or what's that color that's in between blue and gray or whatever. But yeah. Gray? Is it just
bluish gray?
Bluish gray, yeah. So, very cool. Yeah, so I'm excited for us to talk about this one and get into it. I see that you added some of our new faces and places to the doc. Do you want to just switch back and forth? You want to take that first one?
Sure, I'll take the first one. In this, we get sort of a new introduction to a couple new characters, and that's Lambert and Cohen. We did see them in the last episode, but now we get more of a proper introduction to them. They're two more of the Witcher brothers. Cohen is the more laid-back Witcher, and Lambert is more of the dickish guy.
Yeah, I figured that out going, especially the second time into this episode, going, oh, okay, these are two guys. And I didn't get a good count at the end of the episode of how many Witchers we had standing around watching Ciri. I'm so glad you put these in there, because I totally spaced on who they were. Triss, Marigold, and Sabrina. These are these returning characters, but if you need a refresher, they were the other mages with Yennefer at Aretuza when she was studying magic. And they were also at the Battle of Sodden Hill. Triss was badly burnt in the battle, and Sabrina had been snatched by the worms. The worms. Ew.
Yeah, the worms of Frangilla. They got into their brains and took over.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I had totally spaced on who they were, and I actually had it in my notes that I hope you figured out who they were and you could explain.
Yeah. Yeah. And also we get a sort of new location, but not really. It's a returning location. It's called Zintria, but it seems like a new location. It is actually Cintra, and the Nilfgaardians are now calling it by its elven name of Zintria.
Ah, okay. I did not catch that.
Yes, and all the elves are flocking there for sanctuary, basically.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, with that, we can get go right into our top fives.
Thank you, Wolf.
Don't thank me yet. It was Lambert's turn to cook.
And should I go?
Absolutely.
Roll the dice? Okay.
Yes.
My number 5 is Yennefer is alive and back at Aretuza. That was so nice when they were talking about the deceased mages and they said, we've lost 14. And she stands at the door and says 13. Because she hasn't, she's not quite dead yet. I understand Tizea. The one thing I thought is, I understand Tizea's great respect for Yennefer. I mean, she's almost crying as she's carving her name into that block with all the lost mages. But where did this deep love for her come from? Because they always seem to bicker with each other.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of a jump, kind of a stretch that all of a sudden. But I think we got that conversation. It's in this episode, or is it the last episode? I guess it was. I guess it's in this episode. We get further conversation where I think Tisea just realized how much Yennefer sacrificed for that, and that's kind of changed her impression of Yennefer, maybe. And I had this in my discussion points too. So, if that's all you've got for Yennefer.
Just the part where she's with the other mages, Triss and Sabrina and the other unnamed mage down in the pools where the eels are. They go down there to hot tub, I guess. And I thought they were actually going to be mean girls at first because Sabrina's kind of snarky with her, but then they show like they really do have respect for her, and I love that. I love it when women aren't snarky with each other, but they actually have more of a sisterhood.
Yeah, that was a good scene that even though they kind of, played with her about that she had fire, she should be able to heat up the hot tub, but then the other girl does it. So they don't really address the fact. And this is later on in the episode when we find out that Tisea knows she doesn't have her magic. But I wonder if others are starting to suspect that she may have, burnt out her magic. So, I've noticed that Stregobor used that same method to try to get into Yennefer's mind that Tisea used in that first episode. And that was another interesting turn of events that, and they want her to prove her loyalty by killing the other prisoner. And it's just, but I liked that whole interaction where Yennefer realizes that even if she kills him, then she's a murderer and Stregobor will have another reason, to come at her. But yet, so she's torn and she ends up breaking him free and they end up escaping together. But I love that we get confirmation of what the old witch meant about, what did she say about, I'm going to let you cook for a while, I'm going to let you bake for a little while. She's still in her head and she's still trying to get Yennefer to tell her, to let her be the one that helps her. But I love that at the end, it wasn't the witch she turned to. She said, I'm saving myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was really, really great. So what was your next one?
My next highlight was Ciri getting hazed by her her rowdy big brothers, in quotation marks. She's a typical petulant teenager. She's getting a little irritated with Geralt because he's just moving along too slowly. She wants to run before she can walk, and so of course she gets prodded by the boys there at Kaer Morhen to go and essentially try what I'm calling Witcher Wipeout. The obstacle course that she has to go on, which is like the game Wipeout, but you don't have the nicely padded obstacles and the warm pool of water to fall into when you do fall. And I'm glad it wasn't easy for her, you know. I thought, oh, okay, she's kind of this special child. I have a feeling like she's just gonna ace it right away, but no, she gets knocked down hard several times.
Yeah, I had this whole in my notes as well as one of my points. That whole contraption was just amazing. How intricate it was, and how big it was. And obviously, it didn't either. It didn't burn with Kermoran when we had the events of the Night of the Wolf, or Nightmare of the Wolf, or they were able to rebuild it sometime over the past. We don't really get a confirmation of how long it's been. I mean, Witchers. I'm assuming they don't age the same way as regular humans age. So it could have been 100 years, or, it's definitely been decades, but there must be a point kind of where they even out, and we have no idea how old Vesemir is.
No. Yeah, I'm sure they must have rebuilt it at some point. I mean, it is their winter home where they go to relax, but also they have to stay sharp. So I bet they rebuilt that course over time.
Yeah, and I liked that there was a point in there where, like you said, she didn't just solve it all of a sudden. She had to try it several times. She had to fail. I cheered when she got through that first section the first time, but then she automatically gets knocked off the next section. And Lambert was actually trying to kind of coach her a little bit there, where he was telling her to watch her breathing and center herself and all that stuff. So I thought it was really cool, and it looked like Geralt started to kind of have a smile on his face when it looked like she was going to finish the course successfully. But then, of course, she falls off the platform, and his "so close," was...
Yeah, I thought at first they were really hazing her, but as she kept going and kept going, they started to build that respect for her. And you're right. I think at one point the hazing turns into like persuasion. It's just like, yeah, keep going, you can do it. Or by telling her she can't do it, it just pushes her to go and do it some more.
Yeah, and I love that she talks to Geralt about wanting more training, and the very next thing we see is she's training with Cohen. The sword play with Cohen there was really, really cool to see. So it's kind of like all of them are going to kind of band together maybe and help train her a little bit and get her ready. But, and I've got the quote later from Geralt when he tells her that she's not a Witcher, though. She doesn't have the special potions and the powers and all that stuff. So she's got to be more careful than the rest. She can't just get out there and do these kind of things. She's got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, we learned from Nightmare of the Wolf that, Geralt was pretty much going pretty easy on her as far as the training compared to what they went through.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if they're going to step that up a little bit. I hope not, because I don't really like to see that kind of toward women. I mean, toward kids or anybody. You don't really want to see that. But so we'll see.
I think it's your turn.
Let's see, where am I at? Kind of my first one really that I had down that we haven't already talked about is that the banter is not quite as playful as it was in the last episode. Lambert is really blaming Geralt for Eskel's death. That was rough to watch, because it's hard enough when you lose a compatriot, but to have another one kind of blaming you, was bad. And I love that we get this reveal that Eskel and Geralt's relationship was really pretty close there. They seem to be really good friends, and they train together. They have that talk about monsters, and I think it was Eskel says, or Geralt, one of them says something about, our job is to rid the world of monsters. We're basically going to put ourselves out of the job, but that'll never happen. And you remember that was part of the storyline from Nightmare of the Wolf, right? Was that the Witcher alchemists were the ones who were mutating these monsters to make new monsters, so as a way. So I wonder if we're going to get more of that in this season, more of the mutated. Well, as we saw at the end, we saw a mutated Leshy there at the end, not just the one that Eskel had fought with. You see another one that looks very different.
And I don't even know if that was a Leshy or another monster coming to kill the Leshy.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about even on my second watch, and I wonder if we're going to see another dissection scene from Vesemir next week, him dissecting this new monster to see what it is, and maybe we'll find out what it is, or that it's a mutated Leshy.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say something about that, but I lost it. If I figure it out, I'll come back to it. And speaking of that, my number 3 point was the pull from the forest. So, Geralt asks Ciri, "What is it? If you let that feeling, continue, where is it?" And she says it's pulling her to the forest. And one more week, we get another awesome creature design. Two awesome creature designs this time from, the makeup department. The Leshy, I thought for just like what came to mind right away to me was it is like a baby of Groot and La Llorona, which is, it's a Mexican, Latin American folk story about the weeping woman, a vengeful ghost who roams the waterfront areas mourning the children that she drowned. It's very gory, but if you've ever seen the movie, I think it was by James Wan, she kind of looks like that, like tall and gaunt, and that's what that Leshy looked like. It almost looked like it was in a dress, but it was all its long roots going into the ground.
Yeah, and then that other creature was, it was another insect-like creature, right, crawling around and making those kind of sounds, that I thought was great, and I loved that fight there at the end. I'll talk more about that. Kind
of reminded me of that kind of praying mantis character from the first season that chased Yennefer through all the portals. It had those kind of talons or whatever, but it also had like multiple creepy demonic eyes and like long human hands, which was probably the creepiest part about it.
Yeah, exactly. Whew. Let's see. My next one is Tisea. We didn't get anything. I didn't think about it until I started watching this episode. We got nothing from Tisea and the people at Aretuza in the previous episode. We just had Geralt and then the Nilfgaardians. And so this one, we don't have anything. Did we get anything from Nilfgaard in this one?
Yes. Well,
no.
Yeah, we do. The elves.
Okay, yes. Yeah, the elves talking about what they wanted, and I had it in my notes, Fringilla and Francesca talking about what the witch showed them. That's right. So we did get all three storylines this week. But yeah, she says they didn't get anything from the prisoner and that he has a magical block in him, which I thought was interesting. And we find out that Yennefer's been gone a month trying to get her magic back. And you mentioned that, Tisea, she carved those names into the tombstone, and it almost seemed like when she waved her hand, was she maybe taking Yennefer's name off it, or was it just like a dismissing kind of gesture? I wasn't sure because she said something about we just etched your name into the stone, into the memorial, and then she waves her hand again. And I don't know if that was her taking the name off or what.
Oh gosh, I'll have to go back and look. I can't remember if she actually erased the name, just hoping that, if she gave it a few more days, then Yennefer would show up, or if she...
No, I mean, she did it after. No, she did after Yennefer showed up.
Oh.
When they were having that discussion, she said she put Yennefer's name on the memorial, and then she does another little wave.
Then yes, I think
hand.
she definitely erased her name from the stone.
That's all I had for that one. Just a little quick, again, just this relationship between Yennefer and Tisea is going to be interesting to track throughout. Because like you said, in the first season, it was very adversarial and they didn't like each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, she treated her like the pig that she dug out of the pig den that she paid 3 coins for or something like that. Yeah. But also, like I've mentioned before, she's kind of one of those teachers who go tough on you just because they know you can do better. So let's see. I think I'm on my number 2, and this is a term that I never use lightly because there's a distinction between this word and just being a jerk in general. But Stregobor is a disgusting misogynistic asshole.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he is terrible. He condemns and tortures Yennefer. I mean, I understand they were to say I was torturing a prisoner of war, but he is torturing one of their own to get information. He demonizes this woman Falca in the story that he tells about a quarter elven woman who tried to reclaim her throne according to Istrid, and basically he calls her like this woman who tried to destroy this entire civilization. But I don't know. I don't actually believe that, and Yistrid actually challenges him on that. But if you can remember season 1, he also charges the murder of Renfrey. I mean, he enlists Geralt to kill Renfrey because she is this woman who was supposed to be born during the eclipse, who, you know, there was a prophecy that a princess born during the eclipse would be like the end of days. And so he went around just collecting all these princesses and keeping them in towers and murdering them and having them attacked and abused and ultimately experimented on and autopsied. So he is just absolutely the worst.
Yeah, I mean, he's racist and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the whole Elven thing is very, very much, you know, he just doesn't, and it's, yeah, I can't add anything to what you just said. Everything you said was exactly perfect. I was trying to put all that into words myself, so I'm glad that you were able to express it, because we really see that. We saw a little bit of it in the first season, you know, when he found out that Yennefer had elven blood in her, and that kind of made friction between her and who was the what's the guy's name? The one that the archaeologist mage that she had her. Istrid, that's Istrid. Okay, yeah. You know, she accuses Istrid again of what? I'm not going to tell you something so you can just go run and tell it to Stregobor again. You know, so there's still a strained relationship there between her and him as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do find out in that story that he tells that his hands are just an illusion. He was there at that event and his hands got burnt off.
Yeah, I have that quote actually I have his quote in my notes that when we get there.
But I was thinking, you know what? If his hands were burnt off, I have a feeling that they were burnt off for a good reason, and I have a feeling there's way more to this story than we know right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's got to be more to his just vitriolic feelings toward elves, and like I said, it's not excuse. Yes, it's one thing if he was tortured but that still doesn't excuse the treatment he did of Yennefer, and like you said, his just general attitude towards the elves. So let's see. I don't know what number I'm at on mine, but I want to talk about, we had a lot of talk in these last 2 episodes about the conjunction. Again, we've had it mentioned several times that I'm hoping we're going to see some more of that. Where did you see, because you said something about the conjunction was when humans and monsters were basically snapped in or warped into this universe. Did you pick that up from the Nightmare of the Wolf, or was that in those cave drawings we saw in the last?
I mean, I think I'd heard somewhere, either in an interview or something, that it was this conjunction that brought humans and monsters into the world. But they do mention when they're talking down in the cave and looking at the cave drawings that they talk about the conjunction, what's your function? That's what pops in my head every time.
Yes, every time.
That's when the monsters appeared.
Okay.
They didn't say the humans, but maybe they were talking about both, you know, the monsters and the human monsters.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to just track how much of that story we get throughout the rest of the season. You know, we'll see. But I kind of hope we get a little bit more of that, of what the conjunction was. And because, you know, Geralt says maybe there'll be another conjunction that'll change the world again. Yeah. I think we're up to your number 1.
Okay, my number 1 is Yennefer takes her life and Cahir's into her own hands. So like you said, she was tasked with killing him, and she says to him that death must serve a purpose. So that's why they hadn't killed him yet. And apparently his purpose now is to prove that she's not a spy, because Stregobor, basically tells the council that he believes she's a spy because she's part elf, and that she had been with the Nilfgaardians for over a month. So he feels like she's playing a double agent with them. So to prove that she's loyal to the Brotherhood of Mages, she's tasked with killing Cahir. And like you said, so they go to this fortress or some sort of ruins. The kings of the north are there, and they have built this monument to the fallen mages. I also heard that they weren't, so there must be a force field or something around there that prevents them from doing magic.
Yeah, Foltest, we have the return of King Foltest, who he was the king with the Striga that we talked about in the last episode. We have his return, and he and another king are talking about how, well, what if somebody tries to do magic in here? And I think Foltest said something like there were mages that were putting up wards so that wouldn't happen. Yeah.
And he also dropped the line that their most trusted advisors are less so now. So they obviously suspect the mages. But she does hear the voice of the Deathless Mother in her head telling her to come to her, telling her what to do. And she literally, takes her fate into her own hands by using that axe. And she's a pretty good shot there, because she cuts his bonds without cutting him or, slicing him down the back or anything. Yeah, she takes him, she hops on the horse. I thought that was pretty cool too, how she ran through the auditorium and smacked down the supports holding the fires, knocked him down as a distraction, hopped on the horse, and sort of in a gender switch, it was her on the white horse saving the gentleman in distress.
Yeah, and it seems like now she's going to run to Cintra, and that's going to be her, I guess she didn't want to murder him, which I understand completely, but she also saw there was no other way out for her. If she didn't kill him, they were going to call her a spy. So she had to break him out and escape, basically, to Cintra, or Cintria, as we may start calling it.
Zentria?
I can't. I'll let you have all the big words. So my number one is that ending fight. I think it's almost every week is probably going to be my number ones, is that the ending fight there. That it was interesting, and you talked a little bit about it already, about Geralt talking to Ciri about what's pulling her, and I don't know if he knew it was going to be the Leshy, Eskel's Leshy, or if it was that other creature that was pulling her. But I just love that they get out into the woods, and Geralt tells her about what happened during her mother's wedding, and that power that was revealed in her mother, and he thinks it's in her as well. And it was just another one of those moments between the two of them where she says that she trusts him, and he's like, it's about time, but then they get that fight, and we get the other creature killing Eskel's Leshy. Mm-hmm. And then we get the vision that she saw at the beginning of being dragged is in there as well. But then we get this other creature that we don't know. I thought it was a mutated Leshy, but maybe it's something else.
I thought so at first too, but then when I watched it again, they flip back to the Leshy, and he's actually behind the Leshy, slicing it in half. I actually thought the first time I watched it that he came out of the Leshy.
That's what I thought the first time. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think he was behind the Leshy. So yeah, we'll get something more in the next episode of that, of that creature, that monster. But yeah, it was really good. And I love that whole cat and mouse kind of thing where it basically was chasing Ciri, and Geralt just waited for his moment. And the actress playing Ciri, gosh, she looked, at first, it was fear. It was definitely fear. But then when Geralt saves the day and cuts the thing's head off, you see her fear change. And she's doing that thing where she says, I'm taking hold of the fear and using it, So I thought that whole scene was played really, really great. And again, I can't wait till next week to see if we get Vesemir doing another dissection.
Oh, so many autopsies this year and monster autopsies.
Yes.
Yeah, and the one thing that you notice with that creature is that he could easily kill Ciri right away, but it seemed to me like he was trying to reach out to her. He had one of his creepy hands, and he was kind of reaching out to her, and she kind of looked at him for a minute, and then Geralt slices him in half. So
I
I'm
didn't
thinking
notice
that this creature somehow wanted to reach out to Ciri.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to see again what's. So is that all of your points? Have we?
Yep, that's all of them.
Okay. Let's see. Got any more notes that we didn't discuss?
I have a few. Where are all our hums and fucks? Last year you could have a drinking game by how many times Geralt would go or fuck. So it's like, I've got my drink here. I haven't heard a single one yet.
Yeah, I tried to do a count per episode, but there hasn't been that many, and so we'll have to see if that maybe the writers took that into consideration this season and didn't put as much of that in. I thought that scene with is that like that burial cave where they took Eskel's body. I thought that was kind of interesting there, and then the wolves come, and I couldn't figure out, were they just leaving his body for the wolves? Like,
that's what I was
devour?
assuming. Yeah.
Okay.
They're the school of the wolf, so I think
wolf,
maybe
so
that's
yes.
what they do with their dead. They leave them for the wolves.
That's what it seemed like to me. So
Yeah. The other thing was actually you were talking about last time the colors of the robes and if they meant anything, and I just noticed when when Fringilla was talking to Francesca this time. She was talking about how the rest of the continent considers them to be imperialist, and they see their black armors and just believe that they're bad. And I thought, oh, black armor, black robes. So maybe that was why he had the black robes. And the person, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay. And the person that was haunting Fringilla's dreams, who I couldn't remember, his name was Amir, because she mentions it this time to Francesca. I just did a minor amount of research because I didn't want to get spoiled, but Amir is the Emperor of Nilfgaard. That's his name. He is the White Flame.
The white flame they keep talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I that whole conversation I loved the second time around, especially of them discussing what they each saw in their kind of visions, and that what they kind of wanted for the future. And Fringilla says, she doesn't want to be considered, like you said, imperialistic or attacking. We were liberating people. And then Francesca says she just wants the elves to have a home, which I thought was, she said, is Nilfgaard, is that going to be a home for us when this is over? And I thought that was great.
Or they want to be given a home somewhere. I mean, it's like a lot of, dispossessed peoples. It's like they just want to find a safe home somewhere where they're not going to have to live this nomadic life being, tossed out of town from town.
I think that is all of my notes. I already talked about King Folsted and the conjunction. Any other notes for you?
One minor note. Why is there a dead rat hanging from Ciri's wall?
I could not figure out what was going on there.
You see Geralt, he's mending her wounds, and just behind him there's just a rat tacked up on the wall.
I don't know, maybe she just killed it as a sign to the other rats, or
I had a friend in college who did that. I went to school for a while in New York, and we had our dorms were this really old kind of dirty building, and I never had them because I think I was nice to them and I refused to kill them, but some of my neighbors had cockroaches. So my one of my friends one time killed a cockroach, and he left it laying on the floor in his dorm room for a week as a warning to the other cockroaches.
Nice. So let's see. I only have a couple of quotes here. I'm not sure what I left mine in my notes. I didn't put them in the docs. So I've got that one that you mentioned from Stregobor. He says, "A historian should know bloodlines better, but history does have a way of repeating itself, doesn't it? And I was there. I was there when Falca destroyed Mirth and all the mages in it. Her violence etched here." And then he holds up his hands, and we see, like you said, that his hands are actually illusions, and he says, "Forever." So.
Yikes. Well, for that, I've got a Stregobor quote too, and it says, "The only certainty on the continent, my boy, is that no one is ever what they seem." And I feel that's a bit foreboding, and I have a feeling that Stregobor is, well, he's probably pretty much what we see, but he's probably something more as well.
Yeah, I think so. Especially, like, how does he eat with illusion hands?
I also wondered how he was able to touch Yennefer and get into her mind, because he touches her shoulder to get into her mind, but I'm like, those are illusion hands.
Yeah.
Illusion hands don't work, do they?
Maybe they are physical. I don't know. I didn't think about it until just now when we were talking about it. So
Magical prosthetics.
My only other one is the one we kind of already mentioned, and this is when Geralt is mending Ciri's wounds, and he says, "You can do anything, doesn't mean you have to. When a witcher cracks his skull, all we need do is stick him in a cot and fill him with Vitrum, Spurge, and Hawthorn. Chances are he'll survive. You do not have that luxury."
No, she does not. That's why she needs to stop thinking that she's invincible, but
exactly.
That's what young people think. Hey, Steve, what's the difference between a witcher and a heap of shit?
Go on.
Eventually, the shit will stop smelling. Ba-dum-bump. Little witcher humor from Lambert there.
And then what was the one that Ciri said? What was the other one? He said, "What do you call it? What do you call a witcher without any brains?" And she says, "Lambert."
Uh-huh. Just like brothers and sisters, they're good at harassing each other. My last two quotes are Tisea saying, "What's lost is lost," which is the title of this episode. And not only lost as far as her magic, which I'm hoping it's not lost because she's awesome with it, but it's almost like, she's kind of saying what's lost is lost. You can't get that again. You have to find a new way to live. Just the same way that in the first season, the dragon told Yennefer that she would never get her womb back, so she would never be able to have children. And God, how awful is that you give up something that special and important to get power, and then you lose all your power.
Yeah, I missed that quote. I missed doing a mic drop on that one. What's lost is lost.
What's lost is lost. And my very last one, we've said it already, but I thought it was so great, is when Ciri gets knocked down off the obstacle course, and she's looking up at Geralt for some sort of recognition for what she's done, and he just looks at her and says, "So close."
Yeah. That look from her of approval of whatever she wanted him to be proud of her, and he's just like, no. So again, I didn't see any feedback in any of the usual places, so we will skip over that, and when we get to the end, we'll tell where our listeners can give us some feedback. And but let's get the only podcast recommendation I have is Strange Indeed is back, and Rima and Paik are covering You season 3. I actually haven't watched You season 3, but I did start listening to their coverage today just to hear kind of what the new season is about, and I'm kind of excited to see if I can find a way to dig into it and send them some feedback. So that's Strange Indeed on the Podcastica network.
Yeah, I wanted to start that a couple of days ago, but I'm going to start that this weekend because that show is crazy. I will promote, finally, my episode with Mark over at Adrenaline Cinema Podcast is out. We are covering The Fifth Element, if you want to go over there and give it a listen. And also just wanted to throw a shout out to our friends Derek, Chris, and John over at TV Podcast Industries. They have just put up their full coverage of The Witcher. If you have already watched the entire series and need to hear about it right now, you could listen to their podcast.
Yeah, I look forward to listening to them when we get finished with ours, going back and checking that out. So, as always, you are listening to us on your podcast player of choice. If there's an opportunity to give us a review there, we would love to hear that. We would read it here for sure. We have a website, which is panels2pixelspodcast.com. We have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/panels2pixels. We are on Twitter, panels2pixels. That's panels, the number 2, and pixels. And then we have an email address, panels2pixels1@gmail.com. Panels2pixels1, the TO spelled out right there in the middle, the number 1@gmail.com.
We are on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube if you search Panels to Pixels Podcast. Please give us a thumbs up. We are on Instagram at Panels2TO Pixels Podcast. Check out our other podcasts on the Next Level Online Radio Podcast Network. Whew! We highly recommend them. Wilhelm, The Spotlight with Ben Beck, The Melting Pat, Lost, We Have to Go Back, Podcast Zero, and so much more. Go to nextlevelradioonline.com and check them out there.
So, next time, we will be back with the next episode of The Witcher Season 2. So, Lara, you have already given your podcast, but what is your podcast proposal of the week?
Okay. Last week, it was charcuterie boards. This week, I'm thinking, true podcast, true crime podcasts like Serial, Dirty John, and My Favorite Murder are kind of a big deal. So here's a podcast proposal. How about Tales of True Traffic Crimes podcast? It'll be a hit. People calling about road rage because they're driving around behind little old ladies, or no?
I'd listen to it. I'd give it a chance.
I'd listen to maybe 5 minutes of it.
As always, I send voicemails to the various podcasts when I have the time. Right now, I think Book of Boba Fett is about the only one I'm able to get to at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see.
So much TV, so little time.
There is. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Steve.
I'm Lara.
This was Panels to Pixels, and we will see you on the next panel. Good night.
Good night.